Hello, my name is Snowlight. This is my Warcraft University, a YouTube series intended to give new and mid-tier players simple concepts towards playing World of Warcraft at a higher level. In this video we will discuss equipment, knowing what to wear. Over the last few sessions, we discussed the different classes in the game by the type of armor that class is expected to wear. For example, warriors wear plate, rogues wear leather, and mages wear cloth. The reason we classify them this way is that it is a cascading restriction. That means that warriors are able to wear any type of armor, but it is most beneficial for them to wear plate. Male wearers, like hunters, are able to wear leather or cloth as well as mail, but will benefit the most from wearing mail and cannot wear plate. And so on down the line. When you are deciding for your class, always choose the equipment that matches the type you are expected to wear, as shown in the previous videos. Now before we dive into attributes and other elements, let's sort out the most simple way to choose one item over another. If you hover your mouse over an item, each equipable item will have an item level. And now, even better, while hovering over this item, hold down the Shift key and you will see the currently equipped item with its own item level right next to this one. If you compare the two, you can take the higher item level and it will generally be the better piece of gear. While this will not always be the best method, it will serve well enough until your character reaches max level and gets at least close to the endgame content. Beyond this, we have to discuss attributes, often called stats. In Warcraft, there are 4 primary attributes: stamina, strength, agility, and intellect. Of these, all classes benefit from stamina as a direct reflection of your maximum hit points. Beyond this, your class and role will dictate that you focus on one of the other 3 stats. Strength for plate wearers, excluding healing paladins, intellect for healers and casters, and for the most part agility for the rest. This attribute that your character most desires is called your primary stat, and you want as much of this as you can get. As a rule of thumb, if you are looking at 2 pieces of gear that are both the right kind of armor, you will want the one with more of your primary stat. If you are unsure which is your primary stat, you can open up your talents page and look here to see which attribute is best for you. Beyond the 4 primaries, there are also secondary stats: haste, mastery, critical strike chance, or crit for short, and versatility. If you are not max level, just focus on item level and primary stat through the leveling process. Once you hit endgame content like raids and mythic dungeons, that's when you want to start looking at your stat priority. This term means a breakdown of the 4 secondary attributes in the order that is optimal for your class. Where does the stat priority come from? For this, I'm going to reference you directly to icyveins.com, a website dedicated to helping endgame players maximize their damage output. On this site, the stat priority is a very simple cascade of best to worst stat, so you can take this to mean choose the stat that is the most valuable anytime you see it, all other things being more or less equal, and get rid of the least value attribute if you can find something to replace it higher up on the list. If you are unsure how to navigate Icy Veins, you can instead consult with a class expert who can help you with your stat priority, but again, this is primarily important for endgame content. Okay, that was a bit to cover, so let's recap real quick. First, make sure you're wearing the correct type of armor for your class. Second, max out your primary stat. Bigger numbers are better. After this, if you've reached endgame content, look at your secondary stat priority and choose armor pieces with more of the best secondary attributes for your spec. Again, bigger numbers are better. Now let's talk about a few pieces that don't fit this mold directly. Cloaks are always cloth, and all classes will wear a cloth cloak, simply because there is no other type of cloak piece or back piece. Similarly, each character can wear 2 rings and 2 trinkets. These type of equipments do not have an armor type, they simply fit into one of 2 slots for either rings or for trinkets. For these exceptions to the rule, you can generally follow the same guidelines as above, except that there is no need to evaluate for armor type. Beyond this, you may see on your equipment that it has a special ability. If you see this, it will either be an equip ability, meaning it will have the equip keyword here, or an on-use ability with a similarly placed keyword. If it says equip, that means that the effect will occur automatically as long as you have that item currently equipped. If you put the item back in your bags, the ability will no longer trigger. Similarly, if the item says use, that means you can choose when the ability will trigger and then be forced to wait for a cooldown before it can be triggered again. In both cases, any stats or other passive effects will always be active if you have the item equipped. If you are a new player, I recommend trending towards the equip abilities instead of use abilities until you reach the endgame, just because use abilities force you to add extra buttons to your user interface. Of note, this excludes macros, which we have not yet discussed. The last part of this video will be weapons and offhand items. Most classes in the game can equip a range of weapons and offhands. For example, priests can equip 2-handed staves as a single item, or they can go with 1-handed maces and daggers in the main hand, and then an offhand frill. Think like a book or an orb in this case. Paladins can equip 2-handed swords, maces, or axes, or they can go with a 1-handed weapon and a shield. If a paladin and a priest are in a group together, the paladin would be the only one interested in a shield if it dropped off of an encounter, whereas the priest would lay claim to a staff if it were looted. With weapons and offhand items, you will generally follow the same attribute rules, but instead of looking for a certain armor type, you will instead want to know what types of weapons or offhand items you want for your role and your talent specialization. You can find what your class is intended to use by opening the talent menu and looking here. That will cover the topic for this video. If you found this useful, please leave a like on the video or a comment with any questions or ideas so we can continue to work on this series. The subscribe button and the bell are there so you can see when new videos come out, if that is your desire. As always, please be positive in your guilds and help make WoW a fun place for everyone to play. Goodbye for now.